the last day of January, the 31st of January 2022. 2022. 2022. New Year. Hello and welcome to this rather strange time of the new year to do a year in review video. There are lots of other costubers who has done a video about what they have made in the year 2021. I wanted to do that as well, but as we are heavily lacking towards the end of January, I thought I would combine this year in review with the 1 year anniversary since the first video went up on my channel. That video was just short of a minute for my entry in the Foundations Reveal competition, and it was of a pair of stays that I made, and the boning that I used was reed. Well, first time ever making a pair of stays. It was quite a challenge. Before that, in 2020, I'd only made my sack, my shift. So, yeah, I did it and I managed it. And of course, there were lots of other people who also participated. So there's that. In February, I made a pair of pockets, I made a petticoat, and I probably also did maybe it was later in March. Well, in March, I was working on a new pair of stays and I was doing a mock-up, and I was using a pattern from Red Threaded, and it was much nicer to work with. The pattern that I had used for my pair of stays for my Foundations Reveal entry was from reconstructing history, recreating history, something like that. And what I have since found out is that you have to know what you're doing when working with patterns from that company. In April, I had my mock-up pair of stays done. The boning was just zip ties, and I have found that zip ties is just perfect. I also participated in the April Fool's fabric challenge, and that was really fun, getting to work with different kinds of print on fabric to make different things. I thought that was really nice. I'm wondering if it's going to happen again this year. It could be fun. In May, I worked on my fichu, my cap, my 18th century wallet, and I started learning bobbin lace. I have been working a bit since on my bobbin lace, but it takes time to get really good. But I am, right now there is a project on it, and I just have to find the time, take the time to actually do it so that I can keep on practicing. And that's something I want to do more in this new year of 2022. Then we're in June, and at that time I decided I wanted to dive into Regency. So I started making a petticoat, but it turned out not to be right. I didn't like the fit or anything, so I have to do that at another time. In July, I did my pair of stays the final pair of stays, and I really like them. I also tried to make a Regency shift, but it was a bit complicated and I wasn't feeling happy about it, so I have since just taken it apart and used it for making a pirate shirt. My second pirate shirt, that is. In August I did a simple skirt. I really hated it, and I haven't actually worn it at all because I keep on finding stains on the fabric and paint stains and stuff. So I'm going to take that apart and use it for something, a crazy quilt thing or something like that. I'm not going to use that as a skirt, but it was nice trying to make a skirt. I learned a lot, especially I had to put in pockets with a tape that attaches at the waist. In September I started trying to draft patterns that would fit my body, and I would simply just take two pieces, sew them together in the shoulder, maybe just take a piece, fold it, cut a neck hole, and then start to pin it in and stuff. That led to, I started on my orange dress where I'm doing gathering and smocking technique and stuff like that. It is still just lying there waiting for me to continue doing the smocking, but I started it. Another thing is that it was about this time that there were lots of costubers who started talking about this Gun and Saxoween challenge collaboration that they had going on, and I didn't know anything about the Gun and Sax dresses. I wonder if it ever became a thing in Denmark. I got a bit inspired and I was like, I'm gonna try if I can do something like that. And I have begun that, also trying to make the bodice or the upper portion to sort of fit my body. It's also just lying around waiting for me to do something. In October I redid my petticoat, my 18th century petticoat. I had gathered it up when I first made it in February, but then in October I took out the gathers and pleated it instead. That was because I had made a sort of history banding skirt where I simply just had pleated it instead of gathering it, and I found out that pleating is actually not that scary. I'm going to pleat my petticoat. I'm not done with it because I need to sort of level the hem and everything, but that's a bit hard because I live alone. I don't have a dress form, but it's just the one that goes underneath. Yes, I made my apron after lots of debating with myself. I hope I am where I'm like, this is okay. Then I did my first pirate shirt, which I absolutely love. One of them I took this commercial pattern here and simply just took the upper body and then changed it because I'm flat-chested, I don't need darts. I just took out the darts and then that was it, and so I'm going from there. I did do a mock-up in this fabric that has these marble balls on them, and well, it's still just lying around. Because after all of this, I also did this striped tank top mock-up pattern for myself, which is really snug, but it was just perfect. In November I hit a low, didn't feel like doing anything. In December I did my American Dutch's cape mock-up from the duvet cover of, you know, with Spider-Man on it, and I absolutely love it. I'm actually thinking about maybe I should line it so that I actually have this one for summer. So I'm going to a cape from some wool blend fabric I have, and this absolutely gorgeous red. It's probably polyester red with embroidery on it. I did some crochet, but overall I uploaded 16 videos. During the year, there is actually quite a few people who have subscribed to my channel, and thank you very much to you who have subscribed. I absolutely love it. It makes me so happy, and I appreciate every single one of you. Now, for this year, I have planned my list of things that I want to make, ever growing and growing and growing. But I have just written down those and that has stuck with me for the longest time. So, but here's my plan. Of course, I'm going to be working on my working class 18th century costume, and I still have the Amalia jacket to do. I don't know, I'm a bit intimidated by it, but I'm going to tackle that one day. When, I don't know, but I know that during this year I'm going to do it. Another thing that I would like to do is actually take part in what was really, really big on YouTube in the beginning of last year, and that is the historical Disney costume thing. And the more and more I saw, the more and more excited I got, and then, well, if I had to do this, then who would it be? And now I have gathered all the material for this, so now I'm ready. I would also like to sort of make my daily wear, my wardrobe, be more like history banding, because, well, just not today, but otherwise I think the way I dress, it's a bit like, let's pretend it's Sunday every day, and it's actually bothering me more and more that it's just like, where's my sweatpants, you know? So I'm gonna try and start to make more history banding things, especially because I made the sort of 18th century inspired skirt, and I've made 2 pirate shirts. The second pirate shirt I've actually made this January. So there will be a video soon of both the making of the first pirate shirt and then some video footage of doing the second one. I absolutely love this construction of a shirt, and I think it's the second time I did this, there was already things that I found I would sort of do differently, or I would tweak a little. So I think it's just a process of doing it again and again and again, and then finally, you know, every time you make something, you get closer and closer to what you actually want and what you like. And I could feel that already just from having done now 2 pirate shirts. So I'm gonna make more of those, that's for sure. There's a new sewing challenge going on this year, which ends on May 8th. And It is called World War II Sewing Challenge. It is hosted by So Biased, Pencils and Stitches, and the Vintage Guidebook. And the rules are to make garments within the limitations of the rationing in Britain from 1941 during the Second World War. I think this is very interesting. It's definitely going to be a challenge, but I think this is something that could be really great also to make your own clothes and appreciate your own clothes more, and look after it, take care of it, mend it, and not just have this buy and throw out sort of consumerism that there is. So I'm definitely going to take part in that. I have a few ideas. I have some fabric, some that was given to me, and some that I found in the second-hand store last year. Because this ends on May 8th, which is VE Day, I'm probably gonna jump in on that in the beginning of February because time and everything. I have bought 2 patterns that I would like to try and use as inspiration, or try to make. Now these commercial patterns are, I'm going to change them quite a lot, so I'm going to see if I'm going to end up using these or not at all, and just do whatever I want within these limits, these rules that there are. But I have this one with a bit of gather and a peplum and stuff like that, and I'm gonna see. I actually like it. I think it's quite nice. So there's that, and then I have, this is, a new print of this one. I also want to look into what was rationing like in Denmark during the war, because there was rationing, and it was actually, it lasted until sometime in the 1950s, I think. I'm looking forward to take part in this. I have already mended my soft home. I mended these. There was a hole right here and I mended them. It's the first time I mended anything. It was actually not that hard. Moving on. I'm definitely going to be making, working more on my gun and sacks adventure. In February, which is probably not, I'm not going to have anything gun and sacks done till that. But in February in Denmark, we have something called Fastelavn. And you dress up in costume, and then the tradition is that you hit the cat out of the barrel. Now, there's no cat in the barrels today, but you do hit a barrel, and you have to, every single person, it's normally children doing this, stand in line, and everyone has 1 or 2 beats. I can't remember if it's just 1 or 2 beats. I think it varies. And then you hit it with a round bat. And then everyone gives it a hit, and there are different rules, but the one who makes the barrel completely collapse and all the candy is just everywhere is the king of Festelin. I was thinking that, okay, you could do like a gun and sacks for Festelin. I think Festelin is just before Valentine's. And Valentine's Day has not always been a thing in Denmark. I think it started just around the new millennium, the 2000s, I think, or maybe a bit earlier, I'm not sure. But Valentine's Day has not been around for that long. In 2020, I did this dress that was based on a historical pattern. This one, I made this one. Now I altered it in the top, it's still too long. The skirt became a tent, but I still have that very first make of this, and I think it was really funny. So I am going to take these two historical patterns that I have and use as inspiration for my gun and sacks, so whatever it's going to end up being. It's like every single piece of understructure is not mentioned, and what did I know? I just took up knitting again. I haven't knitted since September 2014, maybe just the beginning of 2015. I was taught knitting as a child by my mum, and there are just some things that I would like to make that I think looks better if it's knitted rather than if it's crocheted. Maybe if I like really concentrate and work hard and use the absolute perfect yarn, whatever the perfect yarn is and whatever perfect is, I could make something that I had crocheted look as nice as something that's knitted. But I would like to start make socks and stockings, and I have tried to begin crocheting socks, but I just don't like it. So I'm definitely going to go back into knitting. Right now I'm just knitting forth and back and forth to get back in rhythm and just remember it, you know. At least I could remember how to start when you knit. So I haven't forgotten it, but gosh, it was really hidden deep in my brain. I guess it's a bit like learning to ride a bicycle. Once you know it, you don't forget it. But I feel lots more confident getting on the bicycle than knitting. I would love to start to knit stockings and socks. I would also like to knit sweaters, and I'm definitely going to explore more of that this year, as well as my bobbin lace making. I have an interest in lots of crafts, and I have done lots of different crafts through my life, and I would just like to, you know, combine all of them into making history bounding wardrobe and you know, in my costumes and stuff like that. So I'm gonna try and see if I can combine it all. So knitting, right, this year it's gonna be knitting and bobbin lace besides sewing, and well, crochet. I'm probably gonna continue to do that because I can just sit down and do that on the bus, or yeah. I talk so much. We're not even done with the list yet. A costume that is based on a find in Denmark of a young girl. Well, when she was first found, it was of course assumed that she was of, you know, Danish heritage. Then when DNA and everything became big, it's not that many years ago that they took DNA and found out that she had actually, or she had traveled from Schwarzwald in Germany to Denmark. The garment that she had been buried in was a top, null binded. It was done with spun, and the skirt was twisted cords or plaids or whatever, I can't remember, that was attached to a waist tape, and then it was attached to a tape at the bottom, and then she had this giant gold plate on her stomach. The theory is that she was some kind of wise woman, or there's something special about her, that's for sure, because of what she was buried in, because of the finds. And in 2015, I went to the Danish National Museum, where she is on display, and her clothes. I was also at the site where she was found. In 2020, I sort of became drawn to this garment, or the garments that she's wearing, and it's just been like brewing in the back of my head, the idea of trying to reconstruct that. So it's definitely something that I want to make. If it's something I'm going to make this year, I'm not sure. I put it on the list because maybe I'll do it. Because of the World War II sewing challenge, I have started to dwell more and more into the sort of vintage style, the style of the 20th century, looking at 1920s, the 1930s, and of course 1940s and 50s. I came across this pattern, which is a modern reproduction of a print from 1930s. At some point, I would like to make one of these two, or something similar to it. I already have an idea of how I am going to build this up. I know exactly what story it's going to belong into. In the year 2022, there was supposed to be a huge celebration in Denmark, which for obvious reasons did not happen. Back in 1920, a part of Denmark that was lost in a war in 1864 rejoined Denmark again after the First World War. It had been German territory until then. So a part of the land that was lost to Germany in 1864 rejoined Denmark. So the Danish border, the thousand, even a heart can break into 1,000 pieces. Okay, north and south, east and west, and north and south. So the Danish border just moved a little bit more south after that. And of course, in 2020, that was supposed to have been celebrated, you know, the reunion, 100 years, and then it was cancelled. But there were TV documentaries about it, and one thing that hit me and that just, you know, stuck with me was that the minority of Danish people who lived in Germany from 1864 until 1920, they were forbidden to use the Danish flag. So a way to sort of go around this law was to dress up in a white dress with red ribbons. The Danish flag is red with a white cross. In 2021, there was actually a celebration taking place, and the Queen of Denmark was there. They recreated a scene 100 years apart. In 2021, it was the Danish Queen dressed in white, all white, young people dressed in white. It keeps on inspiring me in terms of this, what I have dubbed reunion dress. You could also say that the fight for women's vote could also be taken into this, because they also wore white. At one point, the Danish royal house posted an image on their Facebook page of Crown Princess Louisa with her son Prince Christian, and Crown Princess is wearing a dress. The footage is from 1872, I think, or 18, and she has the very young Prince Christian on her back. Prince Christian later became King Christian X, who was king when Denmark was invaded by the German troops in 1940. And that's how we came back to the beginning with the World War II sewing challenge. Oh, there's one more thing that I have to do, because last year, in 2021, in March, I was given a Threadle sewing machine from 1920, the tabletop. It needs quite some love, and I think it's about time that I give her some love and just fix the tabletop best to my ability and get her cleaned very gently and oiled. It's scary because I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to do something wrong, because she is 102 years old. This was my year 2021 in review, and my plans for this new year 2022. Thank you for stopping by my channel, watching this video. I appreciate it very much. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos from me in future and what I have planned this year, please hit subscribe, If you want to be notified, then hit that little bell icon. I hope that you all have a lovely day, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Well, in Danish, it's a tøffel. There is a new sewing channel. Sewing channel, that's not what you're going to say. Now comes the not so fun part. Editing. Gunnen saxalarm, gunnen saxo time, gunnen sax time, gunnen sax and time.